Hey everyone, I have some very exciting news. The exciting news is that I recently did a DNA test and I got it back. The not so exciting news is that I was a little bit disappointed on my genes. It's a little bit worrisome. So what I want to do is sit down with you and explain to you why I did a genetic test, how I did it, and the testing that I used, and of course go through my genetic profile to help you better understand how you can use genes in order to improve your health. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, DNA testing is absolutely fascinating. It is going to tell you your genetic makeup. It's going to show you how your body ticks at a very core level. And this is important because it's going to tell you how to start taking care of yourself. It is going to show you the path to better health. Now, for me, this isn't the first time that I've actually done DNA testing on myself. I've actually done it in the past, but the fact is that the technology keeps getting better and better. I'll also point out that some of the tests that I've taken in the past, I don't really trust that much the information that was given to me from them, simply because I found out over the years that a lot of DNA tests, they actually take your DNA, they farm it out to some foreign country, and then they bring it back to the United States, and then from there, they give you the information. And there's been many reports of people doing the same test with the same company and getting different results back. So we have to really make sure that we're using good quality DNA testing. If you're interested in the one that I used, I'll put a link in the description below because it is a company that I absolutely trust, and I think it's one of the best ones out there right now. I'm using it for all of my patients currently. So with the DNA testing, there are some really good reasons as to why you should go and check your DNA. First of all, it's going to help empower you to make good informed decisions with your health. You know, whether it's your dietary information that you're trying to really nail down, if it's going to be the lifestyle, how should you exercise, and also, like I said before, some of the potential problems that you are going to maybe have in your health in the future. So for instance, you're going to look at genetic predispositions to disease. You're going to be able to know if you have things like cancer, heart disease, or diabetes, or even an autoimmune disorder that is a potential possibility in your future. It also is going to help you take preventative measures in order to counteract that potential disease that you are genetically inclined to have one day. You're also going to look for things like nutrigenomics. This is something that's a huge focus in my clinic. As far as nutrigenomic goes, it's simply going to look at what nutrition you need based off of your genes. How should you eat? What food should you avoid? What food should you consume more of? You also can use it from the standpoint of pharmacogenomics, meaning that, well, you could actually look at pharmaceuticals and know that some of them are going to be bad with your genes and some of them are going to be better. And the good thing about taking your genes and doing a gene test is that it's information that you can have for life. Now, I know that I said I've done more than one test and I've repeated it and the technology keeps getting better. But the thing is, if you get a good gene test, like I feel very good about the one that I'm currently using. If you have a good gene test, I think that there's no reason in the future you should have to repeat it unless the technology expands so much further. But typically, if you're using a good system like I do, what you're going to have happen is that when their technology expands, they actually roll out that new data to you with the information that they already have on your genes. So if you've done the test once and they roll out new data, then simply you're just going to get the updated information without having to perform a new test, which is really cool. Now, you're going to be able to identify what type of exercise is best for you. Like for me, we'll get to in just a moment, high intensity interval training is one of the best forms of exercise combined with weight training. But there's nowhere in my genes that say, hey, go do some long distance running. It just isn't going to be something that's that effective and good for my overall health. Now, let's go ahead and jump into my genes because it's really fascinating. And once again, I want to help you understand based off my scenario as to how you can improve your health. Now, the first thing I want to look at is my heart. You know what? The good thing is my heart is actually pretty darn good from a genetic factor without a whole lot of risk. Going into some of my cellular genes, well, I have pretty good genes there too without a whole lot of problems. Now let's move on to detox because those ones weren't really too bad. Now this one has a few hiccups in it. Basically, my body struggles with phase 2 detoxification. And it also has been found that based off my genes, I would actually need to avoid nicotine and also alcohol because neither of those things are going to sit well with me. What's really interesting about it, though I don't really have a lot of experience with nicotine, I certainly have found that alcohol of any sort just doesn't make me feel good. It's something I don't even incorporate into my life at all, like ever, just because I know that I don't feel good with it. Well, part of that is because of my genetic makeup and my body just doesn't want it. So for me, detoxification is a bit of a concern. So what I will do with this information is I will take detox support every single day, probably for the rest of my life. And look, if I miss a day here and there, it's not a big deal, but I know that this is an issue for me versus me going through my life not understanding this concept and then my body getting a whole bunch of toxins backfilled within it and then me expressing all kinds of different health issues. Now I know if detox is an issue, I can support the detox mechanisms that are a little bit faulty in function, and as a result of that, I'm going to start feeling pretty good. Now, this is really interesting because there's so many times in our life where we have a health problem and then we solve it and then we kind of take a step back from working on that health problem, and no sooner do we take a step back, it comes back only for us to work on solving that problem again. We end up on this endless cycle. One of the big reasons that happens to so many of us is that when you're in a position where you have a faulty genetic makeup, essentially what's going to happen is that it'll continually be an issue for you. So if you do a gene test and you understand that that's a problem for you, then from there you make those changes. You're going to be able to avoid that problem for life. Now let's go ahead and look at the next set of genes for me. And this is really looking at the genes that are associated with my gut health. And this is where everything falls apart. Okay. Now for me, this is really interesting because I've always had a lot of different gut issues. I didn't ask for them. I eat healthy. I live a healthy lifestyle. And yet gut health has always been something that's a struggle for me. It's better, it's worse, it's better, it's worse. Now, what's really interesting about this is that I have done gene tests in the past and they have not told me a single word about my gut health, except this one actually does a good gut profile based off of genetics. So what I have found out is that, well, basically I am likely to struggle with my microbiome and my immune system. And the reason that that happens is because most of your immune system is located in your gut. So when you have a gut problem, you tend to have an immune system issue, which actually sets you up for a lot of potential autoimmune diseases, which are, of course, frightening and very, very problematic to deal with. So back to my gut health, what has been found is that I'm very likely to deal with fungal infections, very likely to deal with things like IBS, and also even issues with the tight junctions within my gut lining, which basically would be referred to as leaky gut if I was to have a problem with that. And also I found that basically I have a lot of potential for easily getting inflammation building up in the colon, and then I have to make sure that I'm combating it. So there's some different dietary changes and recommendations that has been made here. A lot of them are kind of obvious, like, make sure that you're getting lots of antioxidants, eating lots of fiber, that sort of thing, eating an anti-inflammatory diet. However, in my own personal life, like I said, I've dealt with these fungal infections. I've dealt with these microbiome issues, dealing with things like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and also different issues with inflammation in my gut. So I've dealt with all of those things. So to actually see this show up on my genes, though it's a little bit worrisome and disheartening, the good news is I know that this isn't just something that's like, well, I need to make sure I just throw a little bit of effort in it, overcome it, and then move on in my life. These problems are going to be a regular occurrence unless I'm specifically combating it. So I put more effort into doing things like intermittent fasting, making sure that I'm taking some different gut supports, making sure I'm always taking my probiotics, some inflammation support, along with, remember, like we talked about before, the detox support, which is also going to offer a lot of help in my gut. So now this genetic test gave me a lot of different suggestions in the way of supporting my gut health, but I'll leave it at that for now. Now the next thing is hormone management. Fortunately, I'm pretty good in this area. Now looking to my immune health, unfortunately, this isn't a particularly great area because of the gut health issue that I clearly have built into me. And so as I mentioned before, if you got a gut problem, you got an immune system issue. So I'm very likely to get like different autoimmune conditions and arthritises and things of that nature. Psoriasis is a big one as well. So I'm going to always have to worry about making sure that I'm keeping down inflammation and doing the right things in order to control that. Now, moving on to just inflammation in general, basically what this test told me is that as long as I continue doing all the right things and I work on that anti-inflammatory diet and, maybe take some inflammation supporting supplements and that sort of thing, I'm going to be able to combat the inflammation pretty good. Now, moving on to the neurocognitive section. When I talked to the geneticist, it was very funny because it's like, we talked about my gut health and those types of things. It's like, yeah, a lot of problems here. Then we moved on to the neurocognitive, and it made me feel a lot better because he said, well, you've been blessed by the genetic gods. I fell into a category of being this as my superpower. So you know what? My gut health may always struggle, but from a neurocognitive perspective, I have really, really strong genes. So this is one of the great things about doing these tests is that not all of it kind of is bad information. You also find out like, hey, these are the areas you shouldn't have to worry about, right? And whenever we look at the neurocognitive neurocognitive, this also plays a role not only in today, whether we're trying to combat mood instability or brain fog and issues like that, but also looking at potential issues down the road of like, well, Alzheimer's, dementia, those types of issues that become a problem for so many people. So I'm glad that my neurocognitive area is buttoned up, and I'm going to put a focus on some of those areas where I'm not so good. Now, another category is weight. And fortunately for me, I don't have any issues with weight gain and weight loss and those types of problems. Now, there are genetics that will basically predispose you to having a little bit more struggle with your metabolism. Luckily, I don't have those issues. But once again, if I did, I would just start incorporating things to make sure that I am combating this every day. So in a nutshell, these are what my genes look like. Once again, I wanted to explain this to you because I think this is like the cheat code in just health in general to make sure that you're doing the right things. And I also always like to bring this topic up because I want to impress upon you that you want to be doing the right DNA test. Unfortunately, there's a lot of different tests out there that are absolute ripoffs. I mean, there's companies out there that are testing like 2 genes and charging you like $500 to do it, right? Whereas like I got a massive genetic profile and it was only $350. So I'll put a link in the description below to the gene test that I'm using. Now, this wraps up the portion of looking at my genetic test, but I do have something really special in store for you. So I'm going to head home, get out of these work clothes, and my daughter's concocting something right now in the kitchen to show you. So last time we did a video, Emma showcased her 4 ingredient bagels, and everybody wanted to know, what are the ingredients in this? So can you show us how to make your 4 ingredient bagels?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. What do we need in a 4 ingredient bagel?
Okay, so we have almond milk, yogurt, flour, baking powder.
This is whole egg, right? This is just egg white.
Yeah,
okay,
just
gotcha.
eat an egg. And then everything bagel seasoning. That's just kind of
Okay, throw it together. Let's see how this is done.
Okay.
Now, we're using almond milk here, but she's doing that because I am very dairy sensitive. So you normally would use Greek yogurt in this case, I believe, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
so Greek yogurt, but you can use almond milk yogurt if you don't want to use dairy. Pretty much anything in my house that I'm going to be eating has to be dairy-free, unfortunately. I've been sensitive to dairy, but I've become very sensitive to dairy over the past several years. So I just took it out of my diet because it's obviously not worth it. Need help? You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, let me help you. Oh, you got it?
Okay, so a cup of yogurt.
Cup of yogurt to a cup of...
A cup of flour.
1 cup of flour. Pressure's on. Pressure's on. People are watching. Okay, so cup of yogurt, cup of flour. What else do we need? Eggs? Dump the eggs in or not yet?
No, we like egg wash them. So we like paint that on.
Oh. I was gonna say I have no idea what egg wash is. Okay. So we're putting some baking powder. And how much baking powder?
2 teaspoons.
Okay. And then what else?
Then we mix it.
So those 3 ingredients. Where's the 4th ingredient?
Okay, so the 4th ingredient is the egg.
Oh, so they're really like 3 ingredients.
Yeah, more like 3.
Okay. So you basically mix this up till you get a nice dough.
Yeah.
And then from there you form them into bagels, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're putting everything bagel seasoning on them. And you've made all kinds of variations of this though. You've made everything bagel, you made blueberry, you made cinnamon bagels, like cinnamon raisin style.
Yeah.
So a lot of different variations that you can make, but your go-to is everything. We love the everything bagel. So what are we doing now here?
Now I have to shape them. The dough's kind of sticky, so
Okay. There's
helps
more
to have
dough
some
for you.
extra flour.
Not kidding, it's sticky.
Yeah.
Messy.
So this will make 4 bagels.
4 bagels. Perfect. Now, I would imagine this whole time, like even as you're going through this process of making these bagels, are probably pretty sticky the whole time, like throughout the whole process. It tends to be whenever you're making anything like this, whether it's like keto or it's gluten-free or whatever it is, you tend to have more sticky dough. So you got to use like parchment paper, or make sure you spray your pans and use extra, flour in this case. And you're using like just a regular all-purpose flour right now, right?
Okay, you want to spray the pan for me?
Cool. And we are using a 100% pure avocado oil spray on that. Okay. And then what do? We sprinkle some of that on?
Egg wash them and then sprinkle it on. Egg wash helps it brown nice and for the seasoning to stick on better.
All right. So egg wash. First time I've ever heard of that term. Egg wash. Go ahead and grab the seasoning and sprinkle that on. Just wash your hands. You're good. Okay, perfect. Oh yeah, hook it up. Lots of seasoning on there. You can't put too much everything bagel seasoning on these bad boys. Let's do it. Okay, what are we cooking them at?
350.
350 for how long?
20 minutes.
350, 20 minutes. Let's do it.
Twenty minutes later.
How did they come out?
Looking pretty good.
Looking good. What do you think, baby girl? You look good? All right, so we gotta let them cool a minute, right?
Yeah, they're better. They're best when you let them cool for a little bit. There you go.
All right, this is done.
Yep.
All right, you get the first bite. Tell us how it is. It's good. All right. So thanks for hanging with us on this episode of Cooking with Emma. Maybe there'll be more to come. You know, if people see little snippets of you cooking and then they keep asking questions, you're gonna have to keep cooking for people. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, awesome guys. Take care. Thanks for being on this journey with us, and hopefully this video gave you some good information on how you can improve your health. And of course, do it naturally coming into 2025. We're here to offer you support, you know, throughout this whole process. And if you have any questions, put them down below. See you in the next video. You say bye? Bye.